Shocking truth. Unveiling Ezekiel's 7 prophecies that haunt us today at midnight. The clock struck 12, and the air became electric. Whispers of Ezekiel's 7 prophecies danced through the shadows, pulling curious souls toward the spine-chilling truth that promised to change everything. People huddled in their homes, minds racing, hearts pounding, always aware of that invisible thread that tethered them to fear. How could one man's words have such a grip on their lives? As the moon cast a haunting glow, secrets began to crawl from the dark corners of their thoughts, and a cold sweat trickled down backs. Each prophecy echoed louder than the last, entwined with dread and wonder. The first prophecy claimed, "The sky shall bleed with the wrath of the forgotten." What did that even mean? Was it a forewarning of storms that would tear the very fabric of reality apart? Dark clouds seemed to creep closer each night, stirring murmurs of apprehension and disbelief. Eyes turned skyward, searching, waiting, but the sky held its secrets tightly. Then came whispers of the second declaration. The ground shall quake beneath the feet of the heedless. People exchanged anxious glances, remembering the last tremors that rocked the valley, a reminder that the earth itself knew their transgressions. The soil felt unstable, as if it too feared the consequences of a forgotten past. Rumors flared when the third prophecy arrived, claiming confinement in a cage of mirrors. Who felt trapped by their own reflection? The idea slithered into minds like smoke through a keyhole, wrapping around consciousness until breathing felt heavy with doubt. The thrill of discovery mixed with the chill of apprehension, and strangers looked at one another as if they could sense each other's fears. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The tension escalated. Ezekiel's 4th revelation haunted those who dared listen. A shadow rises where the sun once shone. What shadow? Panic pierced the air like glass, shattering into a million reluctant pieces, leaving souls yearning for understanding. The very essence of comfort began to unravel as stories of foreboding encircled the town. Tales of the 5th prophecy became a fever dream. The crumbling walls will bear witness to the treachery of men, hinting at betrayal lurking closer than anyone could admit. Panic-stricken glances darted between friends and enemies alike. Who could be trusted when shadows twisted the known world into an abyss of uncertainty? As the 6th proclamation whispered through the dark alleys, the howl of the void awakens the heartfelt whispers of the damned. A chill swept through the streets. Laughter turned to hushed tones, the allure of curiosity now mingling with terror. What would become of them when the night fell? Finally, the 7th prophecy loomed like a thundercloud, bold and defiant. When the hour strikes, the veil shall lift, revealing the true face of fear. Midnight was rapidly approaching, a silent countdown manifested in the anxious hearts of those aware. What awaited them in mere moments? Eyes glued to the clock, anticipation wrapped around them tighter than a vice, desperately holding onto the last remnants of belief. But pleasure in the intrigue morphed into dread. What if Ezekiel was right? Perhaps some warnings nestled in those ancient prophecies were more than mere words. As the hands of time closed in, the question lingered heavy in the air. Would they survive the revelations waiting just beyond the threshold, ready to unveil their darkest truths? The atmosphere trembled like a taut wire, ready to snap. People held their breath. A collective pulse echoed through the night. As the clock's hands drew closer to the witching hour, nerves frayed and shadows seemed to lengthen, consuming every space of light. An ominous hum filled the ears of those gathered, a pitch that ran through bones, sending tremors of fear cascading down spines. Then, in the thick of silence, a cry shattered the tension. It was Amelia, standing at her doorstep, wide-eyed and breathless. The sky. Look! Her voice rang out, compelling everyone to turn their gaze upward. There, the heavens churned with swirling dark clouds, ominously pregnant with a deep crimson glow. The first prophecy materialized in a shower of electricity. They were being watched by something greater than themselves. Gasps reverberated in unison. Across the street, Tom clutched his daughter tightly, dread pooling in his stomach. "I thought it was just a story, a myth," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. But now, she was at the mercy of forces neither could comprehend. As they all stood in rapt horror. Another trembling quiver shook the ground beneath their feet. It was quick, almost merciful, but it sent a wave of panic surging through the crowd. The earth itself seemed to resent their complacency, as if Ezekiel's words swirled around them like a cloak, weaving implications tighter. An elderly man stumbled, and they rushed to keep him from falling. Voices rose in a cacophony protesting the terrible reality, searching for comfort amidst the chaos. "What do we do?" one woman cried, her eyes darting wildly. "No one saw it coming. It's too late," boomed another voice. The vulnerability of the moment plunged into their hearts, igniting an instinct to protect their own. Just then, footsteps could be heard down the alley, a dark figure moving with purpose. A chill swept the crowd, nervous laughter replaced by whispers. The air felt thick as their collective fear manifested into something palpable. Amelia squinted, trying to penetrate the shadows. Was it the shadows rising from the sun, just as Ezekiel predicted? The figure edged closer, and uncertainty tightened its grip. "I'm here to help," a voice called out, muffled yet assertive. "Alex?" Tom gasped, recognizing his brother who had disappeared weeks ago during the tremors. There was a haunting quality to Alex's eyes. They reflected wisdom stained by nightmares. He moved with urgency, brushing past panicked villagers, locked in a world of memory. "Trust me," Alex urged, his breath ragged. "We're running out of time. It's all connected to prophecies, the tremors, it's the curse of the land." Stunned, the crowd began to murmur. The air thickened with disbelief and a hint of hope. What could Alex know that they did not? The idea that he held the key to unlocking the mystery was tantalizing, yet terrifying. "Start explaining," a man shouted, throwing caution to the wind. "Not here," Alex replied, urgency pinching his tone. "We need to go to the old ruins at the hilltop. It's the only way to break the cycle." As they absorbed his words, thunder rolled overhead, rattling their bones. The second prophecy resounded in the crack of lightning, a reminder from nature itself that time was waning. Who among them would dare to follow Alex to the hilltop? Questions pulsed in their minds, fear clawed at their throats, but among the chaos, a decision loomed imminent. Would they rally together, risking everything to understand Ezekiel's warnings before it consumed them? As they moved toward the hill, shadows lurked just out of sight, already plotting their next move. What waited in the ruins? And would they be ready to confront their own darkness? With every step, the jagged terrain of the hill grated beneath their feet, urgency driving them forward. The faint glow of the crimson sky painted the path in surreal hues, casting eerie silhouettes against the jagged rocks and twisted trees. Amelia's heart raced as she followed Alex, a swirl of confusion and fear mingling together like the storm above their heads. "What do you mean, the curse of the land?" she demanded. The words slipped from her mouth before she could hold them back, a desperate need to grasp the chaos that was unfolding. Alex glanced back, his expression a blend of pain and determination. All the tremors, the shadows, it's the land itself. He remembers what was done here generations ago. A larger rumble shook the ground in tandem with Alex's ominous tone, a chilling reminder of the power they were up against. The group began to exchange uneasy glances. Tom tightened his grip around his daughter's shoulders, the weight of their reality sinking in deeper. "Stop! Just stop!" shouted someone from the back, voice quaking. "This is insane. We're chasing ghosts. Or are we?" Amelia pressed, her voice rising above the swell of doubt. Everyone here has felt that those tremors are real in every sense. You want to turn back to ignorance? I refuse. The group fell silent, and the tension grew thicker than the clouds above. Eyes shifted, sharing expressions that spoke volumes about inner conflict. Each person wrestled with their fears, weighing uncertainty against the flicker of hope ignited by Alex's return. As they reached the clearing atop the hill, the ancient ruins loomed before them, weathered stones adorned with lichen, telling stories of an age long forgotten. The wind howled through the fractures, resembling a mournful cry lost in the abyss of time. Suddenly, a jagged bolt of lightning struck the earth, illuminating the ruins in a blinding flash. For an instant, it felt as if the very air vibrated with the echo of a long-buried truth. Shouts erupted, and the group recoiled, their collective gasp puncturing the stillness. What is happening? One voice trembled amid the rising dread. The prophecies. Alex shouted, forcing his way through the panic. They were meant to warn us. The first cycle is upon us. The price we pay for ignorance, isn't just our peace, it's our lives. In that moment, Amelia felt a spark of defiance. We can't let it end here. We need to choose to fight. Her eyes glinted with an intensity that demanded attention. Tom's daughter tugged at her father's sleeve, her small voice breaking through the rising tide of fear. What if we listen? Can listening help? The crowd stilled, a mixture of vulnerability and determination swirling within them. They turned towards Alex, scanning his face for guidance, and a collective heartbeat echoed through the night. Each prophecy connects to a choice we must confront tonight, he urged. The earth is restless. It needs recognition. It demands change. Suddenly, a deep, thunderous rumble cracked through the air, shaking them to their core. They clutched each other, sobs and gasps mingling as the soil beneath them trembled violently. The ruins trembled as if awakening from a long slumber, revealing something buried deep within. What is it? Amelia cried, terror haunting her voice. I don't know. Alex shouted over the mounting chaos. But we must uncover the truth before it's too late. They watched in awe as a deep fissure split the ground, unveiling a glowing artifact, something ancient and powerful, pulsating with energy. His heart racing, Tom took a step forward, an insatiable curiosity unraveling the thread of all fears. What if it's the key? The intensity of the moment cracked like the sky above, and as their hands brushed the cold surface of the artifact, a blinding light enveloped them. In that instant, a terrifying realization dawned how many other secrets lay dormant, waiting to be unveiled. They were bound not just to the land, but to the shadows of their pasts. Would they accept the responsibility of what was unfolding? As the light faded, the world around them seemed to breathe again, vibrating with an energy both exhilarating and terrifying. What lay ahead might be beyond their understanding, but the choice was clear: to turn back or to embrace the journey into darkness and finally confront Ezekiel's last prophecy. With an electrifying hush settling upon them, eyes locked on the glowing artifact, they stood at the precipice of destiny. Would they unearth the knowledge that could either save or doom them all? A sudden chill swept through the clearing, wrapping around them like a vice. Faces were frozen in shock, eyes wide as they stared at the artifact pulsating with an eerie glow. It was as if the very essence of the land had poured itself into this one object, a keeper of secrets. What do we do now? Someone whispered, breaking the spell that had captured them. Amelia felt the pull, the compelling urge to reach out, to touch it, to find a thread connecting them to the ancient past. We need to. Before she could finish, the ground below them groaned as the fissure widened. Panic rippled through the group, and they instinctively recoiled. Alex stepped forward bravely, his face set in determination. Wait, we can't ignore this. If it's a key, then we have to unlock what it guards. Every heartbeat seemed to echo in the charged air as they stood at the precipice of choice. Tom clutched his daughter tight, her wide eyes shining with unshed tears. But what if it's dangerous? What if it destroys us? A low growl rumbled from the depths of the earth, drowning out Tom's voice, as if the land itself disagreed with his doubts. The artifact throbbed brighter, and in that moment, Amelia sensed it wasn't just an object. It was alive, aware. Tom, I can't explain it, but we can't turn away. The curses, the shadows, they're tied to this. We have to confront it together. Alex nodded, his hand reaching gingerly toward the artifact. It's a risk we must take. We may be the last hope, the last chance for understanding. With a shudder, the artifact seemed to hum with approval. The energy surrounding it intensified, sending a shock wave through the air that rattled their teeth. Each flicker of light felt like a heartbeat, syncing with the rising tension of their fears and hopes combined. Amelia turned, scanning the faces around her. She saw disbelief, fear, and yet something hopeful lurking beneath. We either claim our past or let it consume us. With that, Alex shut his eyes and pressed his palm against the artifact. An electric shock rippled through him, and everyone gasped as the light expanded, wrapping itself around the group like an ethereal shroud. Time seemed to slow, every second stretching out into eternity. Then, without warning, vivid images began to flicker before them, moments frozen in time, shadows of the past dancing around the ruins. Lives lived, joyful, tragic, and everything in between. They were whispers of loss, secrets entwined in the roots of the land. The first prophecy came alive, bone-chilling, yet beautifully urgent, a warning and a call to action. "Listen," Amelia shouted, but her voice felt small against the rising tumult of energy. "These visions, they're our history. They're pleading for acknowledgement." As the visions grew chaotic, Amelia's heart raced. She felt a presence, watching from the shadows. Something was coming, something dark and angry, fueled by the lives they were about to uncover. "What do you see?" Tom's voice broke through the haze, and for a split second, the images faltered, allowing Amelia to draw a shaky breath. "It's more than just prophecies," she murmured, feeling the weight of their collective gaze. "It's everything buried here, our connection. The pain, it's manifesting." A thunderous crash erupted in the distance, and the ground shook violently once again. The artifact dimmed, struggling against the force of the chaos erupting around them, like a beacon calling for help against the storm. "Hold on," Alex shouted as the ground beneath them roared with fury. "We need to stand together." But the energy of the artifact began to flicker, and shadows crept closer. Dark tendrils of despair seemed to reach out, brushing against them, reminding them of their fears. With hearts pounding, they huddled together, and just as the screams of the past swelled to a thunderous peak, Amelia felt a surge of warmth. Was a hope? With every ounce of bravery she could muster, she called out, "We can break this cycle. We must embrace it." Alex added, his voice firm with resolve, that in that moment, they understood it wasn't just about unearthing the truths of Ezekiel's prophecies, but also about the strength found in unity, in confrontation. They had to meet the darkness head dash onto as the artifact surged. So did a torrent of memories. The shadows surged, threatening to consume them all. The winds screamed louder, and the faintest whisper echoed in their minds. The final prophecy awaited, but so too did their answers. Could they weather the storm bearing down on them? Or would they become a part of the darkness that had invaded their land for too long? Amelia clenched her fists, determination flashing in her eyes. "Together, we don't just survive, we thrive." Suddenly, the artifact erupted with a blinding light, and as the shadows lunged, Amelia realized they were on the brink of unlocking something monumental. Would the truth set them free or push them deeper into the chaos? The answer loomed ahead, just within reach, but so did the darkest side of their own despair. The blinding light engulfed them, a white-hot explosion that forced them to shield their eyes. It was intense, suffocating almost. Amelia flinched as the shadows hissed, recoiling from the brightness that sliced through the darkness surrounding them. Every nerve in her body screamed this was it, the point of no return. "Stay together." Alex's voice cut through the haze. It grounded her, a tether in the swirling chaos. With trembling hands, she grasped Tom's arm and pulled him closer to her. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, resonating through the core of the earth, igniting something within all of them. The visions grew clearer, forming a tapestry of history. Burning cities, women weeping for lost loved ones, men wielding swords stained with blood, and children crying in the shadows. Each image felt like a dagger, plunging into Amelia's heart. "Look," Tom shouted, pointing at a shadow hunched in the distant corner of the clearing. The figure loomed larger, an ominous silhouette emerging from the fray. Amelia's breath caught in her throat. Who is that? It's coming for us," Alex yelled, bracing as the ground shook violently beneath their feet. The artifact's glow dimmed, threatening to flicker out, pulling them closer to darkness and whatever that figure was. "Don't let go," Amelia commanded, her voice a steady roar amidst the tempest. A surge of energy erupted through her veins, a sense of power rising from within. Tom's little girl, Lily, whimpered. "I'm scared, Dad." Tom knelt to her level, his eyes resolute. "We can do this, sweetheart. We have to believe in the light." His attempt to sound brave was a shaky echo in the storm as they stood entrenched in defiance. A guttural voice rumbled from the shadow, sinister and deep. "You dare to delve into the past? It will consume you." "It's not just the past," Amelia shouted back, channeling every ounce of courage. "It's ours to reclaim." The shadow chuckled, low and menacing. "Reclamation comes with a price. Are you prepared to pay it?" An electric pulse surged through the artifact, wrapping around them in spirals of shimmering light. Amelia felt her fervor ignite a chain reaction, fueling the glow. She remembered the words of the first prophecy, the symbols she had seen in her dreams. Shadows do not hold dominion over the light unless fed by fear. Collectively, we overwhelm the shadows. She urged the group, her breath steadying. "Don't let fear be your guide. We gather our strength." With those words, Tom stood tall, shaking off the heaviness of despair. Alex clenched his fists, and even Lily, frightened but determined, stepped forward, planting her tiny feet firmly on the ground. The figure lurched toward them, and a howl tore through the air like a siren's wail. It swirled around them like smoke, curling and twisting as if testing their resolve. Together, they shouted in unison, anchoring themselves in their unity, their strengths amalgamating in a burst of light. Suddenly, the artifact erupted again, and the air crackled with energy as if the universe was aligning. The shadows screeched, thrashed violently as if struck by lightning, and began to tremble and dissipate before their eyes. Amelia's heart raced. They were breaking free, but at what cost? The booming voice echoed again, threatening. "You may shatter my grip, but the darkness is patient. It will return in that split second." A fierce glow erupted, swallowing the shadow whole. Yet, as the last tendrils of darkness curled away, an unsettling chill enveloped them. The air felt heavy, pregnant with unspoken truths. They stood panting, but something gnawed at Amelia's mind. "What haven't we seen?" She hesitated, glancing at each of them. "What is lying beneath?" Just then, the artifact flickered, revealing a final vision. A face she recognized, hidden in a tangle of memories, smirking as if it knew something they didn't. Amelia's breath caught in her throat. It wasn't just the land they had to confront. It was also themselves, their choices haunted by the past while forging their path into the unknown. As silence dropped around them like a leaden weight, the ground trembled one last time, whispering, "The next truth unlocks all, but the question remains, are you ready to face it?" The ground trembled beneath their feet, and Amelia's heart raced with each pulse of the artifact. The last flicker of light buzzed around them, illuminating their faces, but shadows clung to the edges, dark and lingering. She could feel the weight of those unasked questions pressing in, filling the air with tension. "What does it mean?" Tom murmured, his voice barely audible, a deep crease etched into his brow. "Whatever it is, we have to find out Amelia replied, her guts churning with both fear and determination. The truth could be their salvation or their doom. When the light finally settled, Amelia felt an unshakable urge to move forward. It was like the universe was giving her a nudge, urging her deeper into the heart of this mystery. "We have to go to where the past is buried," she said, eyes darting toward the trees ahead, thick and imposing, shrouded in a veil of shadows. "Why do I feel like this is a terrible idea?" Tom sighed, shaking his head. Lily clutched his hand tighter, her small fingers digging into his palm. "Because it probably is," Alex grumbled. "But we can't just sit here waiting for whatever that thing is to come back." Every instinct in Amelia screamed to turn back, but she was no longer that timid girl, shackled by fear. She could feel something larger than herself at work, and if they didn't venture forward, they'd never unravel the mystery. "We need to know what lies ahead." Taking a deep breath, Amelia stepped into the shadows, her feet moving with an urgency that surprised even her. The others followed, hesitation mixed with resolve. The flickering artifact was now dimmer, its glow pulling them onward, guiding them through thick foliage where roots clawed at their ankles and branches snapped ominously above. Suddenly the ground dropped away, and they found themselves at the edge of a swirling abyss. Fog rolled in like a living thing, thick and suffocating. A low growl emanated from the depths below, an echo of that sinister voice from the shadows. "Welcome to the truth," it whispered, a chilling invitation. Did you say welcome?" Alex quipped, backing away, eyes darting in sheer disbelief. "Shut up," Tom hissed, his eyes wide, every muscle coiling with tension. He was still gripping Lily's hand, though she looked up at him, wide-eyed yet unwavering. Amelia felt a warmth ripple through her, the artifact pulsing with a rhythm that matched her heartbeat. "We need to face this," she urged. "We need to see what it has to offer." As they leaned closer to the edge, reality shifted, revealing fragments of time swirling around them. Amelia saw faces people she didn't recognize, yet they felt familiar. Their stories unfolded like tragic operas, love lost and betrayed, strength tested, shadows looming ominously. Behind each face was a secret begging to be uncovered. "Are they us?" Tom stammered. "Yes," Amelia murmured, breathless. "They are." But before she could finish, the abyss unleashed a torrent of shadows, lashing out with claws that swiped at the group. "You seek answers? Then pay the price." The dark figure roared, its form shifting, sneering down from the swirling chaos. Amelia's instincts kicked in. "Together," she shouted once more, racing against time and fear, trying to anchor them all against the growing terror. As they stepped back, readying for a fight, something shifted within the depths. A glowing light began to pulse from the center, brighter than the artifact itself. It was calm amidst the storm. "What is that?" Lily gasped, eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. The glow beckoned, drawing them toward the truth hidden behind the darkness. It whispered promises, secrets, and lies, offering salvation or doom. Amelia felt the gravity of their choice, poised between light and dark. They had to decide whether to leap into the embrace of the unknown or flee from the inevitable confrontation. In that moment of hesitation, she looked back at her companions. "What's it going to be?" But the question hung heavy in the air, unanswered, as the light pulsed with urgency and invitation they couldn't ignore. The shadows gathered, swirling ominously. All they had fought for was poised to either unfold into enlightenment or plunge them into a deeper abyss. Could they summon the strength to follow the light? Or would they be consumed by the darkness lurking just out of reach? As Amelia stood on that precipice, a single word echoed in her mind: leap. Amelia hesitated, the weight of the moment pressing down on her like a stone. The pulsing glow beckoned, its warmth contrasting sharply against the icy chill of the shadows that writhed around them. Each flicker of light felt like a heartbeat, urging her to step closer, to embrace what lay beyond the dark. "Amelia, we can't just stand here." Tom's voice sliced through her thoughts, a mixture of urgency and fear. Lily's grip tightened around his hand. She was scared, but there was a spark of bravery in her eyes that soothed Amelia. "We need to trust that light," she rallied, her voice stronger than she felt. "It's calling us for a reason. Or it's a trap," Alex interjected, his eyes darting around nervously. "We could just as easily fall into that abyss as we could find answers." "Maybe that's the point," Amelia shot back, frustration bubbling in her chest. "The abyss is pulling us in, but that light, it's the only thing that feels right." The shadows hissed around them, a cacophony of threats and dark promises swirling with the hazy mist. "Decide quickly," the dark figure's voice growled, growing closer, filling the air with dread. The truth waits for no one. Caught in a storm of swirling emotions, Amelia's desire to know outweighed her fear. She risked a glance back at Tom and Lily. Their faces, a mix of terror and determination, anchored her resolve. "On the count of 3, she urged. "We jump. Together." "Am I crazy for following you?" Tom whispered, shaking his head slightly. "No, we're all in this together," she insisted, gripping the artifact tightly, its pulse sinking with her own determination. 1, 2, the shadows lunged, clawing at the air, eager to drag them down. The growl intensified, a warning. 3, as they leaped into the light, it enveloped them like a warm embrace, swallowing the darkness whole. For a heart-stopping moment, Amelia felt weightless, as if time itself had halted. They spun through an exquisite tunnel of color, sound merging into harmonious notes that vibrated against her skin, but the serenity was fleeting. They landed with a jolt, crashing into the ground soft yet firm, like a gauzy dream. Amelia blinked and gasped, taking in her surroundings. They were in a vast expanse, a cavern illuminated not by the artifact, but by the very essence of light that seemed to pulse from within the walls themselves. "Were we?" Tom's voice echoed, barely containing his disbelief. Lily released her grip, wide-eyed and awestruck. The cavern walls shimmered with vivid images of past lives, memories frozen in time, feelings palpable. Love, loss, joy, agony. They danced like flickering phantoms just out of reach. "Look," Amelia pointed to a formation ahead, where the light coalesced, revealing an ancient pedestal with intricate markings. The air grew heavy with significance, the very ground vibrating beneath them. "Is that?" Alex hesitated, stepping closer. "A prophecy?" As he said the word, the symbols on the pedestal began to glow, sending ripples of energy through the chamber. The markings shifted, each illuminated symbol twining with the others, creating a tapestry of foreboding images, disasters, betrayals, triumphs, and heartaches that seemed eerily familiar. "What does it mean?" Tom asked, a mixture of awe and fear etched into his features. Before Amelia could answer, the shadows from the abyss crawled back into view, swirling anxiously around the perimeter of their newfound sanctuary. The elemental growl returned, this time sharper, more insistent. "Your past, your futures, they are all entwined here," it hissed, its voice resonating with the cavern's energy. The glowing symbols transformed into a singular image, then flashed in a rapid succession. Yes, they recognized these moments. A child's laughter, a couple departing, betrayal bleeding in a trust overlaying the contours of their own lives. A terrifying realization began to dawn on Amelia. "It's showing us our past? Or our destinies?" Alex interjected, breathless. Suddenly, a vision exploded within the chaotic energy. Amelia saw silhouettes resembling them, battling shadows swollen with darkness. Something was tugging at the edges of her consciousness. Was this the key to altering their fate? And then, in the midst of the chaos, an echoing voice rang clear. "Face the truth or lose everything." "Amelia!" Tom shouted, breaking through her trance. "What do we do?" With time slipping through her fingers like sand, she knew it was time to act. "We fight. We confront whatever is tethering us to our fate." As they stood before the symbol, Amelia felt something rise within her, a mixture of fear, but also the simmering power of determination. They were not just spectators in their own story. They were the writers, the architects of their fate. But as they prepared to claim their destinies, the shadows surged, more menacing than ever. A thick tension hung in the air. Would they dare to venture deeper into the complexity of their intertwined fates? The shadows coiled as if anticipating their next move, and Amelia's heart raced. The ground trembled beneath their feet as the shadows writhed hungrily, and the air thickened with the weight of unspoken fears. Amelia glanced at Tom and Lily, their faces painted with a mixture of hope and dread. "We can't let them control us," Amelia shouted, her voice firm as the glowing symbols flickered ominously around them. She felt a surge of resolve pulse through her veins. "We need to strike first." As if sensing her determination, the shadows hissed, their forms twisting into grotesque shapes that slithered ever closer. "You dare challenge fate?" they taunted, their voices layering over one another in a horrid chorus. "Yes." Tom stepped forward, defiance etched in his features. "We're the ones who write the ending." The ancient pedestal flared in response, illuminating their faces with a harsh light, their fears magnified, their strengths ignited. The symbols on the surface spun faster, creating a whirlwind of images, flickering snapshots of their combined past: a boy's laughter, a shattered vase, parts of their lives that wove together like a fragile tapestry. "Remember what we faced together," Lily implored, her voice breaking through the din. "Every moment has brought us here. We can't let them define us." Amelia nodded, heart pounding, focusing her thoughts. She stepped closer to the pedestal, stretching out her hand. The moment she touched its surface, a shock wave reverberated through the chamber. The shadows recoiled, their sinister forms momentarily flickering before her. What was happening? Alex stammered, eyes wide, unable to tear his gaze away from the chaos unfolding around them. "The light is responding," Amelia cried, determination fueling her voice. "We can channel it. We can turn it against them." With a sudden clarity, the images on the pedestal erupted into a violent storm of colors and sounds, visions of their traumas, but also of their victories. Each moment became a living, breathing entity, swirling around them as if drawing strength from their collective experiences. "Keep pushing," Tom urged, his voice rising above the noise. He joined Amelia at the pedestal, raising his own hand to meet hers. As their energies intertwined, a radiant beam shot forth from the artifact, colliding with the dark mass of shadows that roamed too close. A wailing shriek erupted from the shadowy figures, hurt and rage churning in their cries. The echoes filled the chamber, vibrating against the walls as the tendrils of darkness began to pull back. "What is happening?" Alex gasped, feeling the pulsating energy wrap around him like a force field. "It's working. We're drawing on our truth," Amelia exclaimed, her heart racing with the power of their unified resolve. The light shield enveloped them, pushing against the shadows, forcing them to retreat, but growing stronger with each flicker of defiance. Yet even as the shadows writhed, a singular figure emerged from the chaos, a towering being, composed entirely of darkness. Its eyes burned like coals, pinning Amelia in place. "You think you have power?" it hissed, the ground shaking beneath its looming presence. "You're just delaying the inevitable. You cannot escape your fates." "Maybe not, but we can rewrite them," Amelia shouted back, anger coursing through her like fire. The shadows bubbled with rage, forming chaotic tendrils that lashed out toward them, desperate to reclaim control. "Not if you don't know the truth." The dark figure roared, its voice echoing, deep and resonant, shaking the very core of the cavern. The symbols on the pedestal warped, flickering snapshots of their intertwined destinies becoming blurred and twisted, threatening to plunge them back into despair. "Hold on," Tom cried, bracing himself against the whirlwind. "We can't let it win." Amelia struggled to maintain her focus, feeling the pulsating force of unity around her slip. "Stay with me, everyone. We need to confront the truth." But just as she gathered her resolve, the shadows surged forward, a tidal wave intent on swallowing them whole. "Amelia!" Lily shrieked, her eyes wide with terror. "What we do now?" The answer hung in electrified air, just out of reach. The darkness felt almost tangible, pressing down on them, suffocating their hopes. Amelia's breath caught in her throat. "We must remember why we're here, why we chose to follow that light in the first place." And as the shadows threatened to engulf them, the memories, good, bad, and everything in between, filled her mind like a mantra, an awakening. But what ancient truth lingered in the depths of the shadows? What would it reveal if they dared to dig deeper? Time was running out. Would they confront it together? Or would the abyss reclaim them all? The shadows roared, churning and clamoring, a mass of chaos pressing heavily upon the group. Every breath Amelia took felt like a battle, fighting back the weight of despair that clamored for her surrender. Memories swirled around her, flashes of laughter, echoes of long-lost promises, all feeding the storm around them. "Focus," Tom shouted through gritted teeth, straining against the energy that threatened to tear them apart. His determination blazed in the uncertainty. "What is the truth we need?" Amelia's heart shifted as if struck by a bolt of understanding. "It's not just our past, it's why we fight." She felt the words tremble on her lips, and the urgency inside her grew. "Why we chose to stand together." "Together," echoed Lily, rallying her strength beside them. They needed to unify, to coalesce their resolve into something unbreakable. The shadows twisted tighter, snarling as if anticipating their next move. "You're fools." The towering darkness boomed, its voice tinged with venom. "You think your memories can shield you? They're nothing without the truth." "What truth?" Alex shouted, a bead of sweat running down his brow. The fear in his eyes intermingled with determination. Suddenly, the pedestal erupted with a blinding light, illuminating their surroundings in a brilliant glow. The symbols glowed brighter, revealing cryptic messages swirling amidst the chaos. Amelia squinted against the glare, trying to decipher the hidden meanings. Each symbol pulsed pain, betrayal, hope. "That it," she gasped, her pulse racing. "It's our collective truth. Our experiences are what give us power." The shadows recoiled momentarily, hissing and swirling, disoriented by the brightness encircling them. But it wasn't enough. The looming figure drew closer, its dark form a void against the shimmering light. "Speak, then. Will you plead to me? What is this truth you believe can stop your demise?" "It's our right to choose," Tom yelled, voice steady and fierce. "Every moment defines why we're here. We've faced darkness before, and we're still standing." The darkness quivered, hesitation flickering across its coals-like eyes. It faltered just for a moment. In that second, Amelia reached deep inside herself, pulling the strength of every shared glance, every tear, every victory they had fought together. As if conjured by her fierce desire, a surge of light erupted from the pedestal, surrounding the group, bathing them in warmth. It felt like a protective embrace. "Fight back with your truth," Amelia cried, clutching Tom's hand tightly. "If we harness our stories, we can push back the shadows." With a roar, the shadows lunged forward, swirling in a dark storm, a ferocious beast seeking to overrun them. But the light flared resolutely, pushing against the incoming tide. It felt as though the very air hummed with a charged energy, vibrating with raw determination. Together, they shouted as one, their voices rising above the cacophony, intertwining. The shadowy beast shrieked, its form contorting and writhing. The pedestal glowed incandescently, the symbols beginning to reshape into a pattern. They forged a new dance, one of power rather than fear. But then it struck them, a realization wrapped in dread. What if it's not only the truth from our past that shapes us? What if it's also our fears yet to come? Amelia's breath hitched. What lies ahead if we fail? Before they could ponder further, the shadows erupted, closing in once more, an avalanche intent on snuffing their light forever. What truth must we face in ourselves? Tom asked, his voice shaking now. What if we aren't strong enough? I'm strong enough, Amelia declared, suddenly filled with a mix of fear and determination. But deep down, another voice whispered doubts they couldn't ignore, twisting tighter around their hearts. Their terror was tangibly real now. Can we rewrite our fate, or will it rewrite us? For just a heartbeat, the shadows paused, as if considering a choice. And in that moment of silence, Amelia felt the ground tremble again, but this time with a different sort of energy. It pulsed rhythmically, synchronizing with the thrum of their united hearts. Would their truths be enough to challenge the darkness reigning over them? Or was an even more personal fear lurking in their shadows, waiting to be unearthed? The ground rolled beneath them, anxious as if anticipating a reckoning. Shadows danced menacingly, whispering secrets meant to ensnare them. Amelia's chest tightened, but she stood resolute, with Tom and Lily at her side, anchoring her. Together, they radiated a strength that seemed to push back against the encroaching darkness. Remember why we're here, Amelia shouted, her voice cutting through the murmur of doubt. We're not just reclaiming our past. We are fighting for our futures. The shadows hesitated, a moment of stillness in the chaos. In that breath, memories surged through her, laughter shared over stolen moments, tearful confessions, bonds forged in fire. Each memory was a thread, knitting them tightly together, binding them against despair. Tom stepped further, lifting his chin. Every setback, every scar, we face them together. That's our truth, not just for us, but everyone who has lived under the weight of these shadows. His voice rang out clear and strong, resonating against the cavern walls. The towering dark figure surged forward with renewed fury. You think your unity can defeat me? You believe your memories hold power? It roared, venom saturating each word. Yes, Amelia shouted back, her heart hammering in her chest. Because it's not just our past we're talking about. It's our spirit, our resilience. The weight of fear can't drown us unless we stop fighting. With that affirmation, her eyes locked onto the pedestal. The symbols glowed brighter, rippling with an energy that enveloped them like a warm hug. She understood it was time to summon their strength. Let it flow through them as a single force. Let us embrace what we fear, she shouted, realizing that confronting shadows meant staring deep into their innermost fears. If we can face what haunts us, we can rewrite our story. Together, Lily echoed, her voice shaky yet potent, a spark of bravery glowing brighter in her eyes. Amelia smiled at the little girl, feeling the rush of determination. They were more than just a group of frightened souls. They were fighters, warriors of their own narratives. If on cue. The pedestal erupted in colors, earthy tones, and vibrant hues swirling. Amelia could feel the energy growing, pushing back against the shadows that slinked dangerously close. Trust in our truth, she urged, their strength coiling like a spring ready to unleash. We have to believe we can change what lies ahead. We choose hope over fear. The shadows screeched in rage, a feral response that sent chills racing through the crowd. But the light surrounded them, igniting their spirits, stripping the darkness of its power. More than just ancient whispers, they were the embodiment of resilience, of defiance against despair. The dark figure lunged, clawing at them with fury, but the light blazed fiercely in response, blurring the edges of the chaos. Each pulse of the collective energy shattered the veil of shadow, fracturing it into ethereal wisps. Face your worst nightmares. The darkness bellowed, and Amelia felt its chilling breath clawing at her insides, but she stood firm. You're nothing without your past. Amelia felt fear swell inside her, fear of failing, fear of losing everything. But she grasped Tom's hand tightly, whose grip tightened in mutual acknowledgement. It was a chain of trust, one that could not break. And you're wrong, Amelia shouted, pouring every ounce of conviction into her voice. Our past shapes us, but doesn't dictate our future. We choose our paths. At that, the pedestal glowed intensively, resounding with power as their unified cry echoed against the walls. The shadows recoiled, as if they were being pulled away by an unseen force, and the figure faltered, its fury fading into confusion. What will you do when faced with your greatest fear? It hissed, desperately trying to instill doubt. Without hesitation, Amelia stepped forward, her breath steady. We will not bend to you. We're more than our fears. We're our hopes, our dreams, our love. We choose connection over isolation. We will thrive. The shadows trembled, a chilling whisper running through them, and as they surged forward again, Amelia felt the ground rumble beneath her feet. Altogether, she cried, as they pressed forward as one, stepping into the light, in the deafening clash of light and darkness. The shadows smashed against the barrier of resilience they had forged together. Each memory woven with hope electrified the air, firing through their veins. A deafening roar erupted as the darkness thinned and splintered, unraveling like threads of a garment torn apart. And then silence. They stood around the pedestal, panting, fearless in their unity, watching as the shadows dissipated into wisps of nothingness that vanished into the ether. Amelia's heart raced. Do we do it? Tom grinned, filled with disbelief and relief. I think we actually broke it. Lily laughed, a sweet, innocent melody that rang clear and bright. We won. In that victorious moment, the cavern pulsated gently with the warm glow of the artifact, now revealing their intertwined stories, promises for a future that could still be rewritten. But Amelia knew their work was not finished. This is just the beginning. There are still countless truths waiting to be unearthed. As the last shadows fled, the cavern walls shimmered, revealing futures yet uncharted, a canvas awaiting their strokes. Each symbol bore their battles, their choices, a testament that the light would always prevail if they chose to fight. Together, they repeated, breathing in the joy of a victory hard won. They weren't just supported by the light. They were generations of hope, and in their unity, they could change the world. Amelia smiled, her heart swelling with hope. They faced their fears, tore through the shadows, and emerged into the light. And as they stepped forward, ready to embrace the horizon of change, they would remember this moment, carrying their truths like armor. Let us go home, she whispered, an optimistic glimmer in her eyes. As they walked, the glow enveloped them, guiding each step into the promise of a bright tomorrow. Now, as this epic journey comes to an end, you need to subscribe immediately. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear from you.